Scorpions finally show they can sting. Hello there, I am Lemin Jai, and this is News Review. Thank you very much for joining us. Gambia have qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations after beating Angola 1-0 on Wednesday. President Adama Barrow has called the boys to congratulate the massive achievement. We'll bring you that report of the president calling the boys there, but also the nations. People have been reacting, from the Minister of State for Youth and Sport to the President of the Gambia Football Federation. The mood has been one of joy and happiness over this massive achievement there. Before all of this, we'll look at what the newspapers are saying quickly. Let's start with the Standard. Tuma rejects PPP expulsion as nonsense. That's the fight or war, if you like, there. In PPP, Minister Sonko implicated in police diary altering. Foreigners with Gambian IDs consume most drugs at health centers. This is according to the health minister. China condemns assault on Sanyang fish meal factory. Jammeh will face justice after TRRC. That's the witch hunter speaking there, Reed Brody. In another twist to the raging division in the People's Progressive Party, renegade leadership candidate Fatumata, that's Tuma Njai, has rubbished her expulsion from the party as utter nonsense, as she vowed to defend the party to her last breath. Minister Sonko implicated in police diary altering. A former intelligence officer commanding investigations at the National Intelligence Agency yesterday told the TRRC that the current Minister of Interior, Yankuba Sonko, led a team of security officials who falsified police diaries to cover up West African migrants' killings. This happened in the year 2005 there. Foreigners with Gambian IDs consume most of drugs at health centers. The Minister of Health has claimed that 25% of drugs in Gambian public health facilities are consumed by neighbors from across the border who visit facilities with Gambian ID cards. China condemns assault on Sanyang fish meal factory. China has strongly denounced the March 16 assault on a Chinese fish meal factory by youth of Sanyang as unfortunate, and called on the Gambia government to ensure the safety and security of Chinese nationals and businesses in the country. So according to the Standard, to Reed Brody, the American human rights lawyer famous for hunting dictators and bringing them to book, has said that thanks to the work of the Gambia's Truth Commission, there is now a strong case against former President Yahya Jammeh, who he said will likely face prosecution after the completion of the TRRC. Quickly, the point is saying Sonko tells Dabo to resign as UDP leader. That's the Brigade Area Council Chairman there, Sirifo Sonko, upon her Supreme Court victory against the party there. Ex-police chief Drame accused of altering diaries. That's also reported by the Standard. PV expels Honorable Tumanjai. So according to the point, Sirifo Sonko, the chairman of the Brigade Area Council, has called on Usainu Dabo to resign as the leader of the opposition United Democratic Party, claiming that he, that is Dabo, has misled the party there. We'll leave it at that for the newspapers. We'll take a short break. Stay with us, as President Adama Barrow has called the national team to congratulate them on their qualification there to the Africa Cup of Nations next year in Cameroon. And welcome back. The nation's #1 citizen, that's President Adama Barrow, has called Gambian footballers to congratulate them after they qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations scheduled for 2022. That's next year. Let's take a listen to what the president said.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I just want to know how did you celebrate the victory, or how are you celebrating the victory in Mankamonkuna, knowing you are on your official leave?
We are still celebrating here. We are all excited. And definitely to me, it is a big day in the history of sports in this country.
Yes.
We have been very, very patient. We waited so long for 55 years. But today we have made history together. I will congratulate the whole country, the players and everybody and my entire government. And we seize this opportunity to thank the coach and his team for the hard work and commitment to the Gambian team that he was definitely present for all this period. Well, people will be surprised, but we should not be surprised. Because since 2016, we see change, and I think the change is coming. Slowly, but so we will be there.
Yes.
I want to assure you also that the government will continue to support you. The sports ministry, myself personally, I'm a big fan of football, and I'm their number one fan. I want to assure them we will continue to support them. And we have the sports levy. The sports levy, I think, is doing very well for Gambian football. That's why we are able to hire aeroplanes for them to go and play football comfortably in this tournament.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, the chartered flight and all the support that your government has been giving to this team and the footballers. I believe they are with me here. They have attested to how it has helped them in their preparations to have a chartered flight that would carry them in this difficult period of traveling. And like you said, your government will continue to support them.
Yes, we will continue to support them. The sky is the limit. We want them to continue to work hard and they will let them be patient, work together. The team is not individual, it's a team that is important. But let them be assured that we will continue to support them as we grow.
Your Excellency, you were watching the game. How did you see the coverage of the game?
It was online. It's not very comfortable watching football online. But definitely, I think the boys worked very hard. What we wanted the results.
Yes.
And we got the results.
Okay.
But working together, I think, was part of the success of this team. Let them continue working together. Rome was not built in a day, and we will continue to build this team. So that we will not just stop by qualifying, but by winning the African Cup of Nations in the future.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We really appreciated this call. We are not expecting you to call, but it has demonstrated your love.
Meet Sarah and Tracy from the top 8 finalists of the Be a Star Sierra Leone. Their lives changed from day one. New original songs. Be famous and successful. Be a star in the Gambia.
The biggest stage right now in Sierra Leone.
Being a part of Be a Star is going a step further in chasing my dreams and my career as an artist.
All you have to do is record a video of you singing your favorite song, not more than 2 minutes long. Send the video by WhatsApp to the following number, 22-99944, using an AfriCell number. State your name and where you're from. Be a winner of a fully recorded album and $500,000. AfriCell Be a Star, your road to success.
President Adama Barrow quickly calling in there as Gambia qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations. Still on the Africa Cup of Nations qualification of the Gambia there as the President of the Gambia Football Federation, but also the Minister of Youth and Sport, to really, or just about any Gambian, including the Citizens Alliance leader, that is Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, we're all at the Independence Stadium and have all been reacting to the qualification there by the Gambia national team.
congratulations. What do you have to say? How are you feeling?
Well, overjoyed. We're very happy with this.
What does this do for your ministry and your government?
This is history for us, and it means a lot. I mean, it's for the entire country. And for the first time, Gambia qualified for the AFCON. And we want to thank the entire government system and everybody who was a part of this process.
I love you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I love you. So that is the Honorable Minister of Gambia. I told you, now has both legs, if you like, in the AFCON 2020 of next year. So this is all full of supporters Gambia to cheer on the Scorpions. They won this game 1-0 against the Palancas Negras of Angola, courtesy of a 62nd minute goal there by striker Ceesay after the Angola goalkeeper Enrique made a mess of a shot there by Abdel Diallo. So as you can see there, that's all the people who gathered here. So you can see the boys there in the middle of the pitch. Ceesay is here. They're all here at the top. I'm all here to support you boys really. For the first time in nearly 70 years, the Gambia will be playing at the AFCON. At the AFCON Cup of Nations, Gambia has never qualified, so this will be the very first time Gambia. So Gambia has only one game left against the DR Congo, which will be played next Monday. But as things stand now, Gambia has 10 points, meaning the Gambia will qualify. How are you feeling today?
I am thanking God, Alhamdulillah, for the time. Gambia being qualified for the first time to the AFCON under the leadership of Honorable Kababajo, the Minister Bakari Baji, and all sports administrators. Credit goes to everyone, football fans, the entire football team, the coaches. Congratulations to everybody.
What do you make of the coach and the players?
Well, tactically, the coach is okay. And the players played very well. We are very happy.
Nauru, what do you have to say about Gambia qualifying?
I'm just happy. This is a Gambian issue. We are very proud to qualify for a maiden AFCON 2021-2022 Cameroon. Hey, Gambia is coming. Don't think that. Yeah, we are happy. Lamin Jai, you and everybody, you are part of history.
You can see the Citizens Alliance leader is here, Dr. Ismail Ceesay. Finally, Gambia has made it. So they are first made it again to the AFCON of Nations. We are here in the nation. As a politician, as someone who is aspiring to become the leader of the Gambia, how do you feel after the victory?
Well, feeling proud, feeling happy. We congratulate the boys. We congratulate every Gambian. This is a historic moment. This is a new beginning. The beginning for the development of football in the Gambia. So this is going to open a lot of doors for the Gambia. Going forward, so we look forward to Cameroon next year, and we hope to win it as well.
Well, the AFCON Cup of Nations will be played in 2 years' time, and by then the Gambia will be having, at least they will win to an election. Are you hopeful that probably if we are going as president, what will you make for the Gambia to have a better tournament from
support the boys. We give them all the support morally, financially, in every way to make sure that they have a good tournament. Prepare them well. So when they go to Cameroon, they're going to play for Gambia. They're going to play with passion, play with their hearts, so they can bring the trophy back home to the Gambia.
People have been, politicians, ministers have been saying that they are going to support the boys. In context, what are you going to support them for?
I mean, they need football is money, investments. They also need moral support, being there for them. Make sure that they are comfortable, their flights, the logistics is fine. They sleep in good hotels, they have a good training, they have good trainers, they have all the logistics. That is support they need. We need to invest money in them. Make sure that everything about their team is well planned. There's a proper strategy, they have a good team, a good coaching staff. But that's what they need. And when they go, they're going to play for Gambia. You give them moral support, so they believe in themselves, to believe in the Gambia, to believe that they are playing for Gambia. So when they come back, they come with the philosophy.
That is the Alliance leader there. So we try to get the president of the Gambia Football Federation, the former solicitor general is here. to support the boys here and the boys have the former justice minister there. This is former Gambia international and they also here. So we will go to the president. He is speaking to the president of the Ghana Football Federation.
And he's one of the biggest clubber that we are.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Mr. Baya, what is your reaction to Gambia qualifying?
Alhamdulillah, this is for the whole country. It's a pride to the country, all the citizens, the government, the president himself, to the minister, has been very supportive, and my colleagues in the federation and all the football parties, and especially those legends of Gambian football, the former players, those both alive and deceased, and also the administrators from the first president of GFA, then in 1952 up to today, is dedicated to all of them. Because everybody has the same objective, they did their best.
So this is the first time in nearly 70 years that the Gambia is qualifying for the AFCON. As president of the Gambia Football Federation, in your opinion, what has been the problem? What do you think has been the problem as to why Gambia has never qualified for this tournament?
No, I think we built from where we found the other stuff. We came with clear objectives and strategies and programs, which appear to be very slow, but we have to go by step, and continue to get the result today.
Thank you very much, sir. That is the president of the Gambia Football Federation there. So you can see it's one of happiness and excitement here that the Gambia qualified for this tournament for the very first time. So you could see the former Minister of Justice is here, Honorable What today is a happy day for you. I saw you dancing. What do you have to say about Gambia qualifying? He said he doesn't want to talk. He's also here. So that is the mood here at the Independence Stadium in Ibadan. So you can see still the boys on the pitch here.
So while the pandemic meant that Gambians were not allowed to enter the stadium, the pavilions to watch the game, somehow they found their way into the stadium really to celebrate this achievement.
The mood here at the Independence Stadium, we will continue this coverage for you. The Gambia has qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations for the very first time in our history, really. Massive achievement. So you can see, the Portugal Road, you can see the excitement of the Gambia here.
Then you were content, bro. Then you were happy. Gambian. They were content, baby. I'm proud of this. Son of we in Gambia, you have to qualify. We have to qualify.
So you can see everybody is excited.
We have to qualify.
So the team.
Gambia winning. Gambia back.
So this is.
We back for the console. They don't need. We need it. We need it. Yes. Gambia. We need it. We need it. We made it. You need it.
So you see, you can see this is the gate of the Independence Stadium. It's massive. It's amazing. The Gambian people are happy and they are excited. You can see security officers trying to find a way of clearing the crowd, breaking the gathering there, the crowd, so that the bus can pass. It's massive. It's amazing, really. This is the first time that the Gambia is qualifying for this coveted tournament. So the security is trying to find a way of making sure the bus move. That is the bus carrying the footballers there for the first time that the Gambia is qualifying for the Africa Cup of Nations. These boys did very well. Today they beat Angola 1-0. It's a little chaotic here, very chaotic here. There is a lot of excitement among Gambians who turned up at the Independence Stadium to celebrate this very important achievement. That is the bus there carrying the
the boys. So that's the situation here. That's the boss that is carrying the boys there. Massive achievement there by the Scorpions. That's the senior national team. Today they squared off against Angola, the Pelangas Negras of Angola, and they won. So you can see people sitting atop their vehicle. They are carving those, Gambians from all walks of life, men, women, are all here, young, old, they're all here really to celebrate this moment. So that is the situation here at the Independence Stadium. So this was supposed to be a closed door match, but I mean it was supposed to be a closed door game, but a lot of Gambians gathered here nonetheless. As soon as the final whistle went, I mean they all stormed inside the Independence Stadium to congratulate the team there, but also to celebrate. This is the first time that such is happening. I mean, the Gambia has tried for many decades, for nearly 70 years. We have never reached the Cup of Nations. This is going to be the 41st time. So today the boys played a very crucial match, and then they won the game. So we will try to get him and ask him.
Bro, Gambia, time be the for Jordan Yaga talk, you know what I mean? Time be what don't sit there. Then you want them Cameroon, one guy, hold on, time be to know the way she come the Gambia. Inshallah, spare Gambia. I don't know, from Konyani, I'm Japane boy, Dimalele. I'm a fine boy, I'm not telling me Munenko. So Japane guy, boy, they know them. Yeah, man, Gambia.
Thank you very much. So that is one of the celebrants there. Really, so you can see still the bus is struggling. The bus still cannot find its way. This place is packed. Let's take a walk. This place is packed. Really, it's packed with football lovers. So the bus is still struggling to find its way through the crowd. Really.
So this is a celebration that doesn't look like ending anytime soon. So away from all of that, Gambia and qualification for Africa Cup of Nations, we will go to Citizens Alliance. Today they held their 4th press conference in as many weeks where officials of the party spoke. Usman Jata covered the press conference there, and he came through to this report.
The presser comes following the Independent Electoral Commission's announcement of voter registration exercise, which is slated for May 29th. The Citizens Alliance party is planning to embark on another phase of their nationwide voter registration sensitization tour to educate electorates on their civic rights as citizens of the Gambia. However, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, answering the questions on the current state of the nation, says the government's main concern is winning elections but not focusing on the plight of Gambians.
One thing that is a defining character of this government is inaction, inertia. The only thing they are focusing on is how to get re-elected in 2021. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about security, they don't care about cost of living, they don't care about youth employment. They care about nothing. The only thing, in fact, if you look at the government's every program, every investment is geared towards re-election in 2021. I'll give you examples. The government, through supplementary bill in parliament budget, spent massively in infrastructural development in certain areas of the country. And they hailed this as revolutionary, but it was very imprudent. At a time when there are pressures on our economy because of COVID-19, at a time when the tourism sector is at its knees, you go and get a supplementary budget to pay for roads, especially the Banjul project, which is costing Gambian taxpayers $2 billion. What has that done is that it repurposed money that's supposed to be spent on social services. Even though the Gambian budget system is very flexible, you can repurpose only 22% of the entire budget, because others, if you want to repurpose it, it can cause really serious fundamental problems. But they repurpose, they cut on in education, they cut in healthcare, they cut in very vital issues to build roads as a political capital to be able to win the elections. Like the Banjul project, the Hakalang Road, and the others. We are not saying roads are not important. But if you build roads, which hospitals do you go to if you are sick? That is a problem. So the National Development Plan or the National Underdevelopment Plan is a failed plan. You see, if you have a development plan that you don't even believe in.
The CA leader further discussed government's lack of financial discipline when it comes to prioritizing on expenditure-wise, further describing the current government as the most unserious government the country has ever had.
Most of the economic operators in this country are non-Gambians. They don't reinvest their profits in Gambia. And most of the money that comes from remittances is for what? For household survival. And so when it comes to the family, they spend it to survive. They spend it to non-government businesses who send it back to where they come from. So that is why we've seen that the economy is having serious problems with government over-borrowing. The public debt is at its highest for decades. Fiscal indiscipline. I was reading yesterday that they spent $3 million to buy donkeys and horses for farmers. I went around the country. I did not see that amount of donkeys and horses around. I don't know where they took the donkeys and horses. I don't know where they are. I cannot find them. I cannot find them. A donkey costs $10,000. I mean, people are thinking of innovation. How do you mechanize agriculture? How can you sell those important, very high powerful, high utility tractors that Jammeh had in the Dana Commission? You sold them off very cheap, very, very, very cheap, even cheaper than the donkey and the horse. And you go and buy donkeys and horses, and you say $3 million is donkey. I haven't seen those donkeys. I saw more cows when I was traveling than donkeys and horses. Where are the horses and donkeys? I don't see them. See, that is the situation we are living in. A government that is not serious. This is the most unserious government the Gambia has ever had, ever.
The former university lecturer highlighted the poor nature and the plight of different sectors in the country, among which include the fisheries sector and the need of harnessing them properly in order to eradicate youth unemployment and among others.
The impunity in this country. People do whatever they want to and get away with it. That is why today corruption is at its highest. So young people don't have jobs. Why? Because government doesn't have serious economic policies to make sure that they provide them jobs. The sector that are supposed to provide young people jobs have been sold out. We don't own them anymore. Let's start with the marine sector. Supposed to employ young people of Combo in both the primary resources and the secondary resources. Combo should have got a fish processing plant now, at least 2 or 3 along the Combo, whereby we catch our fish, we process it, we supply hotel. That whole supply chain is employment. From the catch to the plant to the supply to the hotels and the markets and export. All that is employment. But today, over 300 fishing trolleys, industrial, encroach our territorial waters every night. Over 300. That is why, in fact, the labels, those who do artisanal fishing to supply our fish markets, don't have chance because the 9 nautical miles given for them is even encroached by big trawlers, destroying their nets. Destroying their nets. So that industry is gone. Tourism, we don't own it. We eat the breadcrumbs. Tour operators are all non-Gambians. Hotel owners mostly are non-Gambians. And the sector is dead because we did not innovate and diversify the sector. It's seasonal as well. And young people rely on it. Agriculture, no investment. Erratic rainfalls. And these are the sectors that should employ. Look at agriculture and its value chain. It's non-existent in this country. So you have to come with innovative ideas to engage young people. But also look at young people also. They are not, most of them don't have skills. If you look at the entire Combo, there is not a single skill training center. You go to the Prono single skill training centers. We have them all you have more skill centers in Caraba Avenue than in the entire Fonyi.
With only 8 months to the much talked about 2021 presidential elections, the CA leader has called on Gambians to look for voters' card if they are eligible to vote. However, he was quick to caution non-Gambians living in the country to desist in taking part in the upcoming elections, warning that anyone found wanting could be disgraced. Reporting for the Fatu Network News Review, Osman Jata.
Tough Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. Tough Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333. Free.
Very well done. I'm now joined by CA leader himself, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, the man of the the moment, if you like. Thank you very much. A very good friend of mine. Thank you, Doctor, for coming.
Thank you, Lavin. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Today you held your 4th press conference, news conference. Really, you are flag bearer of the party. First things first, I want to ask you this. Is Dr. Ismaila Ceesay standing in the upcoming elections? I know it's a tricky question.
It's not a tricky question. I think it's a very straightforward question.
Okay, yes, go on.
Before I answer that question, I'd like to congratulate the Scorpions, our boys, for doing a fantastic job, for making us proud today. Every Gambian is proud today. I tweeted earlier on this morning that we're going to face a 90 minutes today where every Gambian will be united, where our hearts will be one, and that 90 minutes was going to bring us joy, a national victory, and that happened. So we congratulate the boys, we congratulate every Gambian. We are proud. For the first time in the history of this country, we are going to the African Cup of Nations, which started in 1957. 57 to now, it's like you said, it's over 60 kids.
So, this is almost 68
So
years.
it's a joyful moment, it's a joyful day, it's a historical day, and I also look forward to the day when we will go to the World Cup as well, and the day when we'll win Olympics gold medal and bring it to the Gambia. To answer your question, is Dr. Ismaila Ceesay going to contest as a presidential candidate? Yes, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay is going to contest as a presidential candidate.
Great, wonderful. That is quite clear, because the reason I ask you this, you have almost 18 leaders, but most of these leaders would not contest. So for clarity's sake, I wanted to know from the horse's mouth whether you will be running. Let's discuss the Sanyang incident. This is an event that has really shocked a lot of people in the country. The way and manner in which it unraveled really. And as soon as it happened, people, different theories started coming out. As leader, one of the political leaders of the country, what do you see, or what would you say would be your assessment in terms of all that happened in Sanyang?
Well, I think it's what happened in Sanyang is complex. I don't want to have the reductionist approach to say it happened because of this. That is very reductionist, and it's very simplistic analysis of the situation. And once we take that approach, we tend to miss the most important things and the root causes. Because whenever things like that happen, we have to be very strategic and look at the complexity of the situation. We look at the deep causes, we look at the factors, because sometimes the deep causes are not seen.
Yes.
We only see the triggering, the things that trigger it, yes. The reaction that led to it. When it happened, I went to Sanyang. I spoke with a lot of young people. I also spoke with the police, because I was concerned with the way and manner in which the boys were arrested and detained and interrogated. We wanted to make sure that it followed due process. But your question has to do with our whole view of the situation. Like I said, we've been talking about this for a very long time. If you remember, one of the quotes I made that made me got arrested was that economic cannot ensure long-term security, stability in this country. We are seeing that the way things are going, a youthful population, frustrated, disenfranchised, marginalized, bringing in certain investors into their communities without consulting them, exploiting their resources and taking it away. Without them benefiting from it, is a recipe for disaster. And we saw the same thing in Faraba. If you look at the Faraba Banda recommendations, that was that. And they ignored the Faraba Banda recommendations. So we saw that Sanyang is a hotspot, and I can take Katong is a hotspot, Gunjur is a hotspot. All these places whereby their resources are hotspots, until and unless the government, through the NEA and the geological department, work together to ensure that communities are engaged, that the resources that are in any community benefit the people of that community. Today, the resources of Kombo, I'm not saying should only benefit the young people, but the youths of Kombo should be should be employed to benefit from those resources, and that is not happening. And we've seen how that has really caused this problem. Many young people, we have these Chinese fish meal factories who are exploiting our resources. Yeah. They're exploiting our young people in terms of the labor market. They have zero regard for environmental laws, zero regard for our labor laws. They're just exploiting our raw materials, taking our fish, the fish that we are supposed to eat to get protein, they're turning it into powder to go and feed their fish that they are going to eat. So obviously these kind of things are causing, and they're not employing our young people. They are polluting the environment. They are destroying, in fact, the tourism sector where most of these Kombo youths will also earn a living. So these are complex problems. So which led to what? Young people sitting there, no jobs, frustrated, feeling marginalized. The cost of living has skyrocketed. Salaries are stagnant or even declining. Today, only 4% of Gambians earn more than $10,000. Imagine, only 4% of Gambians earn more than $10,000. The rest are earning $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So you look at the cost of living, social pressures, rural-urban migration also is playing it. So there are many factors that are at play. Rural-urban migration, many people are living in the rural communities because there are no amenities, no jobs. They depend on agriculture as employment. Agriculture has really gone down because of what erratic rainfalls and lack of inputs. So most of these young people are coming to the Kombos. Where would they work? At the tourism sector. You have to realize that both agriculture and tourism are seasonal. So the tourism sector also coincided with COVID-19. It is also dead. So what are these young people going to do with the cost of living high? Rent, rent has gone up by over 100%. It's even difficult for you to get. That's why I've seen the rise in crime rates, frustration. So they got angry. So until and unless we try to engage young people and have an inclusive strategy when it comes to the resources of Kombo, of anywhere, whether it's for new Kombo, as long as the resources are distributed in a way where it benefits the communities. Young people can get gainful employment from these resources, and their rights are respected, and environmental laws are respected, then we'll be having these problems. Yesterday, last week it was Sanyang. Tomorrow it could be Gunjur or Katong.
That's an interesting diagnosis there. But then what do you make of the retaliation? Because from all what you've said, it would appear that frustration, the young people, the growing frustration among the young people is what is triggering things like this. But what do you make of the youth retaliated and some of the events, some of the things that took place? For example, the burning down of the police station, the setting on fire of the fish meal factory, what the police call the looting, millions, taking. What do you make of that?
First of all, we don't subscribe to violence. We don't encourage violence. We don't encourage people to take the law into their own hands by burning down police stations and business entities. However, young people, when they feel they're not being listened to, when there is no channel of communication between the young people and the state and authority, it happens. And Gambia is not an exception. This happens to many of the countries. Young people feel that riot is the only language that the government hears. So once the government doesn't have a channel of communication through the Ministry of Youth, through the National Youth Council, through other mechanisms, so that young people know that there's a channel where we can take our grievances to, that they can listen to us. Once young people know those channels exist, they'll use those channels. But once they know that they don't listen to us, they don't care about us, they even don't respect us, the only language they hear is violence, you encourage them to do violence. It's unfortunate though, we don't encourage it. But again, the young people have been calling for those fish meal factories to be closed down for a very long time because they are destructive to the communities that they are founding, especially in Sanyang. They're not employing the youths of Sanyang. In fact, they refuse to employ them. They employ other people who are non-Gambians in these factories. When youths of Sanyang go to seek employment there, they don't employ them. But also understand the other dynamics there. The people who these fish meal factories employ, it's not like they work every day. Whenever there's a boat that comes to bring fish, it's when they transport the fish into the factories. So whenever there's no boat, these young people are unemployed and they are non-Gambians and they have to serve. That is why so it's not the first time like these boys who are working in these factories will leave these factories to come and commit crime in the community of Sanyang. It's been happening before, and the Sanyang people felt enough is enough. So when ways of people getting justice and being heard are being blocked or non-existent, young people tend to think that riot is the only language the government can hear. So therefore they subscribe to riot.
50 people is what have been arrested by police. We understand you were at the police anti-crime where they're being kept. Were you able to see them? What did you take or come to learn from their detention?
Well, from their detention, based on the interactions I had with the police, I understood that a panel was set up to investigate. Because you have to understand that, okay, they'll arrest 50 people, but doesn't mean that all 50 people are culpable of crime. It is that when they interrogate 1 or 2 boys, they'll say, okay, I was there, but X is also there. So they go and bring X. So what was that? They cast a wide net to bring in those who they think have something to do with it. And now during the interrogations, now they'll know who are really culpable, and those one, or they release those ones. So at the end of the day, I think they charged 22 people. My concern was that it's the manner in which the interrogation was done. When you arrest young people, or anybody for that matter, for suspected crime, you treat them their rights. They have rights. They have a right to a lawyer. They have a right to interrogation methods that don't let them self-incriminate. So I was worried about that. In terms of the information I had was that there was no independent witness when they were interrogating them. Their lawyers were not there. So therefore, and they are picked up by night, and there was no transparency from the part of the police. In terms of when police do operations in arresting people, for the human rights of those people and also for the families to know where their loved ones are, they need to come up with statements that last night we did an operation, 25 people were arrested, this is where they are kept. So people know what's happening. We are doing X, Y, Z, we'll keep you updated. But once you go at night, clandestinely, pick people up, you take them, and people don't know where they are. And when the people have correct information, what happens is that speculations will come in. And speculations obviously are not good for any country because it brings rumors and false narratives. And when I went to Sanyang, I was told that when they arrest these boys, they take them to different locations across the country. But no, they're all at the anti-crime. So you see, because the police was not communicating with the people, thinking that, look, we've arrested this number of people last night. It was part of an operation, part of the incident in Sanyang. And so that people are aware what is happening. But once the police are keeping quiet, they're not giving information. They're just going at night to pick boys. Obviously, this will lead to rumors which doesn't benefit anyone.
And also, if you look at the Sanyang events, I mean, you mentioned the government and the issue of government, you know, addressing the needs of the young people. At the heart of the government, you have the president. People say the president did not speak, he did not utter a statement on the issue of Sanyang. Yet you have a delegation. I mean, a delegation that said they were there. It was the president that sent them. They took $10,000 to the family of the man, Ceesay, who died, and they were literally chased out. And it was bad. It was ugly. What do you make of the role of the leader, the head of state, in terms of such things, such events?
There are two things here in Sanyang. Two things happened in Sanyang.
Yes.
The first thing was that a suspected thief committed murder or manslaughter, whatever language you want to use, killed someone.
Yes.
So that was murder. Someone died.
Yes.
Someone's son, brother, husband died.
Yes.
In accordance with our tradition, we always go to extend our condolences to the family of the person that has died.
Of course.
Now, what I understand, the delegation sent by the president did not go to talk about the more complex issues happening in Sanyang in terms of the security situation. They went to extend their condolences to the family. And now, obviously, I don't want to go into that because those things are personal.
Yeah.
For me, what is important for me as a citizen is that the president is responsible for the security of this country, to ensure that every Gambian is secure, that every Gambian's life matters. And that, so therefore, when things like that happen in Sanyang, the president should have at least come out. If he could not, he has a spokesperson to come out to talk. Or the police chief to talk, to calm the situation.
Well, we don't have a police chief.
But there's an acting police. The police is an institution.
Yes.
If the IGP, in fact, I'll take this opportunity to extend my sincere condolences to the former IGP's family. If the IGP is not available, there should be someone acting as the Inspector of Police. So someone should have come out from the state to speak on the issues, to call for restraint, to call for calm, to say this is what the government is going to do, to show the people that the government cares and the government is concerned. But once the government is gone AWOL, they are very quiet. They are not saying anything. While things are escalating in Sanyang, that shows that we have a government that doesn't really, is either they don't know what to do or they're just taking us for a ride. But it would have been good for government to come and speak, for the state to speak, so that we can de-escalate the situation in Sanyang, to assure people that we are with you, the people of Sanyang. We understand your situation and we share and understand your concerns. We'll make sure that we do X, Y, and Z to make sure that you are safe and la la la. But nothing happened. And the same government that, against the wishes of the people of Sanyang, went and gave license to fish meal factories to operate in Sanyang, destroying those communities, destroying the livelihoods of those women. If you know the amount of destruction this fish meal does in this country, believe me, all of us will go to Sanyang now and close those fish meal factories. Not only Sanyang, across the country. They are very destructive. Imagine the fish that we are supposed to eat for protein. They are taking it and turning it into powder to go and feed their fish that they are going to eat. It's a fish meal. What is fish meal? They harvest. They do fish harvesting. So they put fish in one area, they harvest. So they have to feed those fish. So they feed it with our yabui that we are supposed to eat. And the process itself is so destructive that the amount of pollutants they release into our waters, destroying, killing for a fish, it's serious. Look at the price of fish today. So it has a very serious environmental, social, and economic effect at a proportion that cannot even be imaginable. And the consequences are so dire that we might live to regret it for generations to come.
And now, finally, on this issue, the issue of the boys, I've come across a number of people writing saying that the boys should be released. But clearly, according to if the police investigation is anything to go by, crimes have been committed. And someone got to be held to account. But, I mean, there are calls yet for the boys to be released. What is your opinion on the issue of the arrest of the boys and them getting charged?
Well, I think Gambia is a country of laws. No matter how unpleased we are, no matter our displeasures about certain situations, we cannot take the law into our own hands. I'm not happy with the fish meal factories in Sanyang and in Gunjur and in Katong. If I have my way, I'll close them down. I'm going to say it here. But it doesn't also mean that people should be given license to go and burn down property.
Yes.
Especially police station. Especially police station. You see, when you burn down a police station, forget about the structure. The structure is done. You can build another structure.
Yes.
It's the documents, the data that goes with it. You are burning a public institution. You are burning down a state. The police station represents authority, represents the state. So you cannot burn that down. So for me, I will not be the one calling for them to be released. For me, what I would tell the police is that do your job, investigate. Anybody who is found guilty of committing any crime, the police has to do their job. This is a country of laws. If we want to start encouraging this, we will bring lawlessness into this country. Nobody will be safe. However, we'll also say the government, go and understand the root causes of this problem and try to solve it. Talk to the people, communicate, engage young people, engage the people of Kombo, the people of Sanyang, the young people of Kombo, to understand what their problems are, and you work with them, especially young people all across the country, to avoid such situations in the future. But I mean, saying that release everybody else will be setting a very dangerous precedent, and I will not be the person who would really subscribe to that. And also, one thing that we should also be aware of, when I saw it, I was laughing. I saw that some of the president's closest allies are offering to build a new police station for $2.2 million.
Yeah.
Where in the world would you see a private person who is an investor, who has an interest in a country, is allowed to build a police station? That thing what belongs to the state.
Yes.
I mean, that's a serious conflict. You are really causing a situation whereby you are undermining state authority. So for me, I don't like the idea. The police station belongs to the state, should be built by the state, or the rent at the expenses of the state. We cannot allow private citizens who have a business interest in this country to build us police stations. What if tomorrow they go to commit crimes? Therefore, we've already compromised the authority of the state. What can you do with them? So I think that should be discouraged. That happens nowhere. No serious country in the world does that.
I would say that would be the failure of government. Government, when it comes to state institutions, government should be the one to take care of those things, to build those things. But yet, in the case of Sanyang, I found it curious myself, because what happened is the people of Sanyang are the ones who reached out to the businessman to say, come and help us, because it looked to me as if they wanted to clean up their own mess. They went ahead and burned down a police station, and now they wanted to fix it back. And it is these same people that went to the businessman because they are saying that it was them who built the police station, not necessarily government. But the people of Sanyang are saying they are the ones who built that police station. Now they wanted to restore it, and now they started looking for people to help them achieve that.
Well, that shows the serious governance failure in this country. What I'm trying to tell you here is that if you want, you can build a skyscraper as a police station. It does not solve the problems that are happening in Sanyang, the underlying complex problems. Tomorrow they'll burn it again if the problems are not solved.
Yes.
So before you take that 2.2 million to go and build a police station in Sanyang, why can't you build skill centers in Sanyang for young people to be engaged and provide employment for young people? Why can't you really close down those fish meal factories and buy fishing trolleys and build a fish processing plant for young Gambians to work in that to provide employment for them, so we don't have to burn another police station? So does it make sense? But my concern here is that if Jawara and co are businessmen, let them invest business-wise in Sanyang to provide gainful employment for young people so they can get decent jobs. That is where their investment should go. So young people have jobs in Sanyang. But not investing in building a police station for the state, whereas for the people of Sanyang don't own the police station. Every police station is owned by the state because the police station represents the state there. It's a building of authority.
Yes.
So therefore, the government, it is the government's sole responsibility to ensure that police stations are built all across the country in strategic locations where they are needed. You remember what happened in Tangier?
Yes.
Last month, 2 months ago, they burned down the police station in Tangier. That is why there's no police station in Tangier. And for what happened, so they started using Tujereng police station. Now the Sanyang police station is gone. So for how long will that happen? Burning our police stations like that. In Bakote, the same thing when there were riots there as well.
Of course.
So we need to have a stop to these things, and we need to be serious as a country. This, you see, governance is not like it's no child's play, especially when it has to do with authority. It has to do with people's lives. So we need to be serious and make sure that it's government's role to build police stations all across the country, and in fact standard police stations for that matter.
Yes.
I've seen police stations in this country. Believe me, it's just some small hut they went right police station.
Abugo police station.
So government needs to build standard police stations
without meaning to
with standard equipment that are worth a 21st century police station.
Yes. Away from that, let's quickly discuss something that has set tongues wagging in this country. There's been a lot of controversy around it. The draft constitution. Citizens Alliance leader Dr. Ismaila Ceesay flying out to Nigeria, Abuja, for what some people call some tourism or tourist trip. You took part in that, and your position is for at least just about for the parties to compromise and allow President Adam Barrow to have it his way. That is for his current.
You see, we have to.
that is. I mean, technically,
I'll tell you something. Sometimes
position of CA.
Yes.
CA's position is for the retroactive clause to be knocked out, to be removed from the draft constitution, if that is what is going to give us get us a new constitution. That is your stance. And really, I've seen people, you getting criticized over this. Can you clarify that? Why did you decide to take that position?
Okay, I think this is a very important opportunity. I like when people criticize us, to be honest. Like I said, I don't think that I have the solutions to all of Gambia's problems. And I don't also think, I'd be naive to think that my views are always the right views.
Yes.
No. Politics is just what it is. It's a contested activity.
Yes.
There are different opinions, different needs, different wants. And that's why if you look at the textbook definition of politics, one of the definitions is that politics is conflict and cooperation. There is always conflict because people see things differently. However, according to one political scientist, politics is about acting in concert. What is that? When there is conflict, now we have to sit and act in concert as a people and cooperate to solve our problems. So when people don't agree with our view, it's quite understandable for them to disagree. Sometimes they disagree with us, sometimes they agree with us. That's quite. But our position is very clear. Yes. This is not about Adama Barrow. We are not building this constitution for Adama Barrow or for Dr. Ceesay or for anybody. We are building a constitution for generations to come, for the governance of this country. for the democratic consolidation of this country.
Yes.
So therefore, let us look beyond the personalities and focus on the substance, the issues at hand. There was a draft that was sent out of Parliament because of disagreement among the key stakeholders in Parliament. One of the key issues was the retroactive clause. What is that? That in the new draft constitution, nobody, no Gambian, can serve for more than 10 years, 2 5-year terms. But then, when will it start? Should it start in 2016, 2017, or will it start in 2021? Now, the CRC said that based on consultations, it should start, Gambians wanted to start in 2016. However, there's another catch. Gambians wanted so many things which are not in the CRC draft. I was one of the people who advocated for this draft. And I still support it. But let's call a spade a spade. When we went around, if they can bring the data. Data is also the major Gambians want the president to have a degree. But if you bring that, you disqualify many Gambians.
Yes.
Now, just to cut the story short, everybody knows the story.
Yes.
To revive the draft and bring a new constitution, international idea was consulted. Yes. They've been doing a fantastic job for the Gambia, in fact, during the transition, taking lawmakers, taking the TRRC commissioners and to training in Hague and giving materials and so on and so forth. They were consulted to help revive the draft. They, in turn, looked for an eminent personality who they think is so neutral and has experience in these things to bring to lead the negotiations. Johnson Sirleaf was one of them. Obasanjo was one of them. Rawlings was one of them. Goodluck Jonathan was one of them. But then again, because of advanced age and ill health, they settled for Jonathan, who came to lead it. All parties were written to that this is the vision to revive it. We want you to take part. Citizens Alliance agreed to take part in the process. We had a series of meetings. We had a meeting in Banjul on 2 occasions when Goodluck Jonathan came. The third visit to Abuja, which is really the contentious issue, and which I understand Gambians, because transparency is key. When people don't have enough information on certain things.
Because you know the issue of you traveling, especially you and your citizens are traveling to Nigeria, you have railed against ECOMIC, our sovereignty, our sovereignty, our sovereignty. We should not allow outsiders to, spearhead our sovereignty. And here you are.
But these are 2 different
And here
things.
you are. But
what I'm saying is that ECOMIC,
because the constitution, that is where sovereignty starts.
But what I'm saying is that, ECOMIC issue, you cannot compare it with the constitutional issue.
Why?
Because the economic issue has to do with authority and security and our state institution. We have an army in place. ECOMIC had a mandate. We all supported ECOMIC mandate from the beginning. That is why we supported ECOMIC mandate. It was supposed to be a short term to come and help us solve a problem.
Yes.
The constitution also, the idea coming in is to come and help us, not help, but support us solve a problem. I don't even understand. We all supported ECOMIC from the beginning. Even including me, that ECOMIC, yes, is good for the short, for the transition. So it's just like I was always been reluctant because of sovereignty issues against ECOMIC. No. Otherwise, I would never support ECOMIC. I said ECOMIC is good. They come, help us in our transition. Then once we are settled, we give security back to our people. The same thing here. We have a constitutional crisis. If the only way to solve it is to bring in neighbors to come, and even when you have problems in your home and you cannot solve it, they bring in the neighbor to come mediate in between the 2 of you. It doesn't mean they have to be here for the rest of to implement our constitution for us. So for us as a party, we think that if we can be able to if we are not able to solve our problems internally, the other option is what? There will be no new constitution because we are not talking to each other. Let us face the fact.
Yes.
The country was politically polarized. Nobody wants to see each other. Political leaders don't want to. So if external partners, whether Nigeria or Senegal or wherever, wants to come and support and wants to come and lead the process for us to sit and discuss and get a new constitution, we see nothing wrong with that. So I cannot compare it with the ECOMIC thing. The ECOMIC, we supported it, but then we said it had to stop at some point. Now, we went to Abuja. Why? Because we were invited by Goodluck and International Idea to go and brainstorm in preparation for Goodluck Jonathan's final visit to Banjul, which is supposed to take in March 8th. We thought that, yes, once you are part of a process, you agree to take part in the process. You cannot choose where to meet and where not to meet. You have to look at the process in its entirety, the outcome. We thought that some would agree with us, some would disagree, but that is politics. But we thought that nothing was wrong with going to Abuja to brainstorm, to prepare for Jonathan's final visit. So, yeah, that is why we went to Abuja. And then the other issue about the retroactivity. For us as a party, we think politics is about pragmatism politics is about strategy.
Yes.
Not emotions and dogma.
Yes.
At least we took a position.
Yes.
I think every political party takes a position. People might disagree with your position. And our position is very clear. We want a constitution. And if letting this retroactivity go will give us a new constitution with 3 elements. What are those 3 elements? A term limit, 50+1, and a quota system, meaning that every political party should, by law, fill in women, at least 30% of their candidates should be women when it comes to National Assembly election. Why did we say that? Because our fear is that if we don't have a new constitution, what are the implications? We revert back to the 1997 constitution. Yes. What does that mean? It means that the next elections under the 1997 constitution, anybody who wins it, you are going to be sworn in with the 1997 constitution, which has no term limit. Now let's assume it's elections, anybody can win it. It's not selection, it's election. Let's assume somebody wins it and gets sworn in. That person can say, you know what, this time cannot count. They don't apply. So when do we solve the problem of retroactivity? So nobody can give Barrow 5 years. Nobody can do that. Only the Gambian people can give Barrow what they want to give him. Even if we agree that this term should not count as Barrow's term, the Gambians can still go to the polls and vote him out. He will not even do the 15-year talk. He will not even get it. Because the Gambians, at the end of the day, will decide. They'll vote. We cannot do anything. What we are saying is, as political leaders, is we have a problem in front of us. How do we solve this problem? If we think that this is the way to solve the problem without causing much damage, why can't we go for it? Because for us, without a new constitution, it's much more damaging than having a constitution where we say this time will not count, and the Gambians cannot punish Adama Barrow at the polls. Because why? If we go for elections, and anybody who wins the elections in 2021 and is sworn with the 1997 constitution, believe me, only few political leaders with conscience will say, I will be the first to not let my this term count. But believe me, there is no guarantee that the person who will win will say that their next time they will also make the argument that you cannot apply laws retroactively, so my next time will count. If, and that's a big if, Barrow wins, it means instead of we are saying 5 years now, we are going to, because he will also say next time will not count. So it means this time will not count, and next time. That is what we are trying to forestall, to prevent. That is why we say, let us have safeguards now. That's that going forward, anybody who becomes the president is sworn in under a new constitution, which has a term limit, which is fundamental. It means that nobody now can rule for more than 10 years, starting from 2021. But if that safeguard is not there, anybody who wins could go on to be sworn in with the 1997 constitution and say, my next term also will not count because you cannot apply laws retroactively. So therefore, this retroactivity problem will still persist next year. We'll be talking about it. When today what we should be talking about is not the constitution, it's about basic things that Gambians need to survive in this country.
I mean, Doc, I'm still struggling to understand this strategy that you and your party are using, this strategy of compromising principle for self-perpetuating rule. That is what I would call it. This president, when he was riding to power, one of the things that he promised is to end self-perpetuating rule in this country. How? First, I'm just going to preside over a transition government. 3 years, I'm out. And then 3 years came, he said he will not step down. I mean, a lot of Gambians didn't make any noise. A lot of people were saying, okay, 5 years is not even much. We can give him that. He gets 5 years. By the end of that, he forms his own political party. He's now refusing to go, saying that, okay, the people love me, they want me to continue. I am doing 10 years under whatever new constitution that we are going to build, but this current term is not going to count. That is self-perpetuating.
Can I ask you a question?
That is self-perpetuating.
I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you a question.
I'm coming to my question. Let me ask you. That is self-perpetuating rule. Now, your strategy is to betray Gambians, because this constitution, this issue of retroactivity, is the Gambian people who put it in this draft constitution. It is them who told the CRC to put it there. Now you don't want to be on the side of the Gambian people, but you want to be on the side of, okay, we just want to compromise because otherwise we may not have a new constitution, and if we don't have a new constitution, someone also might come and say, okay, it's going to be a never-ending stuff. But really, those are all hypotheses.
Okay.
They are not necessarily.
I think
the reality.
You are the one coming from a hypothetical angle.
You came from.
Okay, I'll ask you a question now.
But I want you to comment.
I'll come there.
Yes.
I like the fact that you are saying the purpose is to end self-perpetuating rule.
Yes.
I like that fact.
Yes.
Now,
You are not ending that.
I'm coming.
The sheer approach is not ending that. It's promoting it.
I'm coming. Let's assume
15 years.
No, I'm coming.
That's self-propagated
I'm
rule.
coming.
For someone who said he was just going to do 3 years.
I'm coming. Let's say CA took the opposite approach.
Yes.
So you know what? No compromise. This time must count.
Yes.
And then that leads to a stalemate, and there is no new.
There would not be any stalemate if all the political parties stood by the side of the Gambian people.
You know what? The information we have
yes,
is what many of you don't have. We in the
but I have it. I work in the media.
No, we in the negotiating table.
Yes.
The amount of information we have, what we know, many people don't know it. What's happening in the negotiating
tell us.
I'll tell you something.
Yes.
Even if the Gambians said they want 15 this time to count.
That is what they said.
Okay. It went to parliament. What happened?
But this was the minority. It was the minority.
I'm coming.
Yes.
It's still democracy. Doesn't know. It's democracy.
But democracy goes by majority. Always have to be people who will say no. But still,
what I'm saying,
democracy goes by majority.
I think if you just let me make this very simplistic for you.
Go on.
The Gambian people say they want X, Y, Z in the constitution. The constitutional building process says that before it goes to referendum, has to go through this process. So it means that a few people will sit in parliament and throw out the wishes of the Gambian. That is what happened. That is what happened. But it's democracy.
Yes.
So now, even though the Gambians want it, we have to go through a process. There is a parliamentary process. First reading, second reading, third reading, referendum. But if parliament doesn't let it pass, it doesn't go for referendum. That is why it was thrown out. Let's assume, for the sake of assumption, CA took another angle. We said, no, we will not compromise, this time must count. What will happen? There will be no constitution. Do you know that?
There will be, of course.
How?
How it's going to happen is that the majority is going to tell the minority the truth. That is what happens everywhere.
But
it is the minority that compromises in a democracy. I have never seen.
Who told you that?
All the time.
Wait.
All the time.
No, you're making mistake there.
You know, okay, I can give you classic examples. Let me give you a classic example.
Let me come.
In elections.
Yes.
The
minority wins.
In elections.
Let's take Banjul.
No,
how much percent will get? No, I'm talking
about.
Wait. In elections, sometimes the minority wins. Rohilo got only 26-27%, and she won. It means that 74% voted against her. So in democracy, I'm coming. You see, today, even if the whole country shouts, democracy was exercised at that parliament and the bill was thrown out. No matter what shout we can do, it will. If there is no will in the parliament to take it back to parliament, it will not go to parliament. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That even if we tell, but if all the parties agree that no, we don't want, we tell the truth. If they don't want to, it cannot go to parliament, because parliament, you have to understand that APRC voted against this draft in parliament. PPP voted against this draft in parliament. Some GDC members voted against this draft in parliament. Barrow's sympathizers in parliament voted against that draft.
If only they stood by the side of the Gambian people, they would not have voted. Because the Gambian people, this is the doing of the Gambian people.
Mister, let me tell you something.
Yes.
See, there are stuff that the Gambian people said which is not included in the CRC document. Do you know that? Do you know that? There are things that the Gambian people said they want to see in the Constitution. It's not in the Constitution. So that is why I say, you see, this thing is not as easy as this is what the Gambian people want, let us go for. No, it's very complex. You need to understand the complexities. The Gambian people said there are certain things that they want.
Yes.
Categorically. Yes. But it is not in the Constitution.
But you cannot put everything in a Constitution.
So what do you,
just about anything.
So which one do you choose?
You go by what the majority gives you.
But the majority
that
of Gambians,
what you
the
go
majority
by.
of Gambians had said things that they want in the, but it's not there. Why? Because if you want to put them in Constitution, you are causing problems for the country.
Give us an example.
One of the problems is that the major Gambians say that they want the president to have a university degree. They can bring that. In fact, when it comes to the ministerial appointments by the president, all the parties agree it should be removed. Yes. All the parties, but the 86% Gambians want that in the Constitution. Yes. So what I'm saying is that, you see, it's not as easy as saying that this is what the Gambians want, so let us call them to shame. In democracy, procedures are followed. It's not about moral. We are going to put them to shame. No. What is clear and what is fact, and that can be disputed, is that if there is no negotiation and agreement to get it passed in parliament, there will be no new constitution. You can stand here and shout. You can come out and shout. You can do your 3 years done and come out and shout and blah, blah. If you just go through the parliamentary process, there will be no new constitution. I don't even know. And what that happen will do is that is what self-perpetuating is in fact. Because why? If there is no new constitution, it means there is no time limit for next term. And that is even worse than having a term limit. And like I said, there is no guarantee that Barrow will do 15 years. Because the Gambian people still have to vote for him to do 15 years. So even saying that we compromise this time doesn't mean that he'll go for 15 years. So what we are trying to say is that you have to compromise one to get two. That is, let this pass, show Gambians that he cannot be trusted. Someone who said 3 years, stood for 5 years, formed his own party, is now vying for 15 years. Then the Gambians cannot vote for somebody like that because we cannot trust him.
So you cannot, you don't trust Barrow. Why would you give him 15 years? Because
I'm not giving Barrow 15 years.
That is what you are doing.
No. I cannot give Barrow 15 years. Yes. The Gambians will give Barrow because they'll vote for him. I have only one vote.
That's what I'm saying.
So even if I say, I'm coming. Even if all the parties agree that this term will not count for Barrow, the government still will have to go and vote for this in a referendum. They can reject it.
But it starts with the constitution, and it starts with the political parties who are spearheading that, the new constitution. That's what the voting for the Gambian people to come out and vote for him, and for him to do 15 years in power. That's a totally different.
So can I give you two choices?
Yes.
And you tell me which one you would prefer.
Yes.
Do you prefer for parties to say that let this term not be counted, but there's a new constitution, there's a term limit, or do you want parties to be upstate to say it must not count, no compromise, and there's no constitution? Which one do you prefer?
I will say that this term has to count, and the political parties need to be on the side of the Gambian people, support them to ensuring that there is a new constitution.
That will not make it happen.
It will happen. It's just a matter of you trusting yourself and trusting
what I'm saying is that we were in the negotiations. That's why I said there are certain things that you not know that we know in the negotiations. Let me tell you something. If you take any bill to Parliament today, which has the retroactivity clause, they'll send it out again. I can tell you that for sure. And it's democracy. What can you do? It's a process that two-thirds must vote for it to pass. If they don't vote, what will you do? You'll still force it through. You cannot force it through. That is what we are trying to tell you, that what we understand from negotiations is that the two sides are so adamant that if you take the bill to Parliament touched, the others will not support it. It will go out. If you take it to Parliament untouched, it will go out. So that's a dilemma I'm trying to tell you. Because it still has, even if you shout and say, this is what the Gambian people want, it still has to go to Parliament. Parliamentarians has to vote for it to pass or not. So and that is the dilemma now. So even, I'm coming. Yes. So even today, if we say that now Barrow take it to Parliament now, even if they get to Parliament, they have to vote still. They'll vote it out. And that is what we know. Because I'm saying, the negotiations, what we know, that is, we were acting on what we know. We did not just wake up. You think I want Barrow to stay? I don't even Barrow to stay another 2 days, 2 hours in this country as a president. Why would someone like me, showing that Barrow is not fit to run this country, he's not doing a good job, be ready to give him 15 years? Why would I? That's a big contradiction. It doesn't make sense.
Because you clearly said he is clueless.
That's what I'm saying. So it means that it doesn't make sense. Why would I come and say Barrow do 15 years? No, because why? We looked at the thing, all the information we gathered, we have insider knowledge. Yes. That is why sometimes you make very difficult decisions. Because of why that is the best decisions out of the lot. I don't want Barrow to do another 2 years in power. So why would I come and say, I want to be president in 2021? Why would I want to give Barrow 15 years? I cannot give Barrow 15 years. What I'm trying to do is that I look beyond me and say, look, any president who is going to be sworn in next year must be sworn with a new constituted term limit. And the only way to get that, is to let this pass. Why not? But it doesn't also mean that he get the 15, the Gambians will still have to vote at the end of the day. I cannot give Barrow anything. I cannot give Barrow anything. It's the Gambians who can give him. We can agree that this term will not count. Yet he goes to the polls in 2021 and he loses massively. The whole 15 years will be in air. So that is why I said, you see, when we as leaders, we lead and we don't pander to the base. We look at the situation, we do analysis, we do assessment, and we think that this is the best course of action in this time. That is the pragmatism we approach. Some will disagree because what we know they might not know. Why we see they are not seeing it. But we understand this politics. But like I'm telling you, if we want to end self-perpetuating rule, we must have a new constitution. Otherwise, it will continue. Because why? If there is no new constitution because we agree, you can shout and say the Gambian people want this. It still has to go to Parliament. Democracy has procedures. It's not about you saying that you have to shout. No. It goes to Parliament. And if it goes to Parliament, there are people who are ready to send it out again if it comes back. And that
now, in your opinion, what you are saying is that because at Parliament, it is the majority that backs this document. In your opinion, it is that majority plus the Gambian people who said this issue of retroactivity should be in the Constitution. These are the people that should back out. These are the people that should give in, that should capitulate.
My position is very clear. The onus lies on President Barrow to let this term count as part of his term, if he's really genuine and as the will of the government.
But clearly that's not what you are pushing.
No, but that is what we tried. That's why I said there are things that you don't that we know. That is what we initially tried.
And it failed.
And exactly. So now, if the person you are negotiating disagrees, now for you to, it's compromise.
Yes.
We think that, okay, he is not fulfilling what he's supposed to fulfill. Let us do what we are able to do. But like I said, there is a stalemate. If there is if there is no agreement, no compromise, there will be no new constitution. And that is in fact more detrimental and causes self-putting rule than if we say, let us compromise and don't count this term. That is our position. But like I'm telling you, we cannot give Barrow anything. We can't even give him 2 days. The government people will decide how many years to give him. They can decide to vote him out in 2021. Yes. So that is the thing. So in Parliament, 2/3 of the majority of Parliament must vote for a bill to go to the next stage.
Yes.
Now, we don't have that in Parliament. That are ready to vote for it to go through. See, it means it will never go. And if it doesn't go, what can you do? You're going to burn down Parliament? You're going to build the Parliament? You can insult them all you want. When they go to vote, look at what happened before the vote. They were insulted. They were castigated. They were called upon. Even the international community wrote a very strong worded letter to tell them that vote for this. What did they do? They voted against it. What can you do? It's democracy. You see, these are the pitfalls of democracy. These are regulations. They are there. What can you do about it?
Now,
so even if we take, even if the party say, you know what, no, this term must not count. Take it to Parliament. They'll send it out again.
Now, at least at the level of the political parties, I know you went to Nigeria, and I feel sorry for Goodluck Jonathan. He has made a name for himself when it comes to negotiations across. He's a specialist, a negotiation artist. But this time around, I felt sorry for him because you went there. He came to the country 3 times. You people flew to Nigeria, but still, it was the same problem. It was the same issue, waste of people's time and resources. In terms of the talks at the level of the political parties, at least what much is known is that only one political party, UDP that is, that was the party that was causing all the problems, or at least that is the party
all the problems. They had their position. Every party
that dissented, that had its position different from all of your opposition.
Of course, that is politics. Everywhere in the world is politics. Political parties take different positions based on how they understand the situation. The 15 political parties agreed that if we are not saying we are giving Barrow 15 years there. That's why I want to tell. If we are guaranteed X, Y, Z, we can compromise on the retroactivity. That is the position. The one party said no. If you touch even a comma in this constitution, if it comes, we are going to send it out.
That is UDP.
Exactly, but that is their position. You cannot fall. That is. So every party has a right to choose. You have your own position.
What did Jonathan say then? At the end of the talks, when things started, it dawned on all of you that this is failing. What did he say?
Jonathan is a diplomat. He is very. He knows how to negotiate. When he goes to Barrow, he'll tell Barrow as it is. He tell us as it is. So, but he cannot be seen to be taking sides. What he can do is try to either convince Barrow to give in, or the UDP to give in. That's all he can do. It's either Barrow agrees or doesn't agree, or at the end of the day, both didn't agree. Nobody agreed to give in. So there is no.
Barrow said no. UDP, that was no.
Exactly. So it means that now there will be no new constitution. I can guarantee you that. That's what I know, because imagine we're in April. If I don't even know what we'll do to revive and take it back, it means now we are going to elections with 97 constitution.
Yes.
And anybody who wins it, so instead of we are saying you come after 5 years later.
Yes.
Now winter.
Yes.
Next 5 years I follow on the calendar, because you don't apply those retroactively. And that is why I said the 97 constitution is even more detrimental to separating rule than trying to negotiate and get a new constitution. It's like giving a mobile phone to get, and people are
the reason why I wanted our political leaders to find a way of dismantling the wings of President Barrow is because really we run the risk of having a president for life. How? I mean, what we much it's easy. The president's plan is to do a very beautiful job, a very good job. That way, he will win the hearts and minds of Gambians. And you know, Gambian people, and this is not unique to Gambia, Africa. You will see people stand and say, he should be president for life. They will start tinkering with the constitution. By the time you realize he's 30 years in power, 40 years in power. So why can't you start it now? Why can't you start the fight now, the struggle now, instead of, okay, we are going to compromise?
I'll give an example.
No,
what I'm saying is that, you see, like I said, what we know in the negotiating room, one of the people are not okay with it. What I'm trying to tell you is that we did that first and we realized that it's not working. You see, what people saw is the decision.
Yes.
What happened for the decision, many people don't know. We tried that first, we realized that they were not giving. So there's no point. The only way now is to negotiate for us to have a breakthrough. Now, my fear is that, like I'm telling you, there are people around President Barrow, I can tell you that for certain that they don't want the draft to come back to Parliament. Because they think that if a draft is thrown out, it is thrown out. It's undemocratic to bring it back. The danger is that if President Barrow wins 2021, he might not even bring the draft back to Parliament. He'll say, I'll just make amendments and continue, without even amending the time limit. What can you do? What will you do? What will you as Gambians?
I think they will stand up and fight
the thing is that if you stand up to fight, it's only through riots and demonstrations and all that.
Not necessarily through riot, but even by simply criticizing him.
But for how long have we been criticizing? For how long have we criticized? Imagine the 3 years thing. There was no type of we have not done in this country. Yet he said, no, he's going for 5. That's what the Constitution says. At the end of the law is what is supreme body. So to avoid a situation whereby that will happen, let us have a new constitution to put a time limit. So anybody who comes, you are bound by a time limit.
And also, I have come across these claims that you, our political leaders, went to Nigeria to sell off the country. Are you part of any plan, really, to sell Gambia off?
Sometimes some claims are not worth responding to. How can you sell a country? I don't even, how can you sell? You see, this is serious
people
business.
Sell their countries.
But people have a right to, name me one country they've sold. Name me one country where the political leaders went on to sell that country. You see, sometimes let us bring debates and talk about the issue of how we have a problem here, constitutional crisis. Yes. We went to Abuja to try to solve this crisis.
Yes.
Nobody can sell the Gambia. Do you understand my point?
Yes.
Now, again, like I said, we all went there with good intentions. Nobody went to Abuja to destroy the Gambia. We love Gambia, that's why we are into politics. Politics is one of the most difficult things in this country. You'll be disrespected, you'll be insulted. People who don't even know you, people who are older and will sit behind their keyboards and rain you insults. Why? Because you want good for your country. Why? Because you are sacrificing for your country. It's a very difficult thing. Yeah. So why would somebody like that, who loves his country so much, that he sacrifices his job, sacrifices family, sacrifices time, sacrifices energy, sacrifices resources for the country to move, would go and sell the country to Nigeria? That's why I don't normally respond to those kind of claims.
And there are people who claim that some of your compatriots are into this to hustle, to find a way of bettering themselves.
Well, I cannot talk about my compatriots, but as for me, Ismail Ceesay, if I've heard those claims that because we are looking for ministerial positions, if I want to be a minister, I'll go take the technocratic route. I'm a technocrat. I'm highly educated. I can do any ministerial job. I don't have to go into politics to be from town to town, from Upper Nyumi to Lower Nyumi to Jara every day, sleeping in uncomfortable places, just to get a ministerial position. This is the difficult route and the long route. I'll just sit here, praise Barrow 1, 2, 3 times, dogo, and I'll get a ministerial position. I'm not into politics I'm into politics to be president of this country. Point, full stop.
Yes.
So for me, I'm not into it for that. Whether colleagues, I cannot speak for my colleagues, but for me, I'm into politics to be president of this country in 2021. That's why I told you I'm going to contest as a presidential candidate. I'm not going to join coalition for ministerial. If I want a ministerial position, I know how to get it because I'm a technocrat. So let people also try to, you see, one of the things is that our people don't want to understand sometimes our political leaders. We don't pay attention to the political leaders. We just, anybody who is a politician is put in a basket. And I think we need to graduate from that and then understand,
each
political leader.
Yeah.
Listen to them properly. Pay attention to know who they are. Talk to them.
That is very important.
But once you put all leaders in one basket,
that's a problem.
There is a problem. Why? Because
that's a problem.
Why? Because the politics is what brings security in this country. That provides food, that provides medical care. So the people who we are going to entrust your country, you should know them. You should not just think that they are just some foolish people who are just looking for positions. I think that can be unfair sometimes.
How about, I mean, because what I learned is that when you went to Nigeria, they gave you a paltry 400 euros.
Well, I mean, the purpose is not to get the money. Obviously, when you go, they give you daily subsistence allowance for you to be able to, survive and buy stuff that you want to buy. It's not for the money. Let me tell you something. What is 400 euros? 400 euros, one consultancy job, you get 4,000 or 5,000 euros. You do 2 weeks, you write something, you get that. So it's not the money. It's not important. That is why I say, let us rise above the pettiness of paradigm hunters. I mean, what do you get to go to Abuja? It's in fact more expensive if you go to Abuja. Leaving your family behind, leaving your jobs behind. Yes. So for me, we need to rise above that and look at, it's time for Gambia to start debating maturely about issues, share and leave sentiments aside. Sentiments don't move a country forward. Let us debate about the issues. What is the problem? That's a constitutional crisis. How do we solve the amount of time we spend castigating the leaders? Why can't we just constructively find a solution? I don't have a solution to the constitutional crisis. I don't have it. If I tell you I have it, I don't have it. I have my small idea, that is ours as CA, that's what we have. Yes. Some disagreed, some think it's okay. But then bring your ideas then. Rather than criticize and castigate my idea, then what do you think? How should we solve it then? Because I don't know. Because what I'm trying to avoid is that we have a new president to be sworn in with a 97 constitution which has no term limit. That is a recipe for disaster.
How about, this entire time, these disaster talks, if you like, it took place, one party didn't want to do have anything to do with this, with whatever that is going on. This is one of the, political parties, really very important political parties in the country. In terms of their position to stay away from all these things that you people started to engage in, what do you make of their position?
I respect it. DOIT is a political party, a well-respected political party for that matter. Any decision they make, they must have based it on something. They perhaps realize that they don't want to be part of the process. They don't subscribe to the principles of the process. They stay that way, and we respect that. So it's politics, like I said. You have to be able to, that is tolerance. You have to be able to respect other people's decisions and views on certain issues. So they think that they don't want to be part of the process. We respect that. At the end of the day, the end justifies the means. The outcome is what is important. We are into it with good faith, that we want a good constitution, no matter how we are going to get it. Not for anything else. Why? Because we understand the dangers of not having a new constitution. And because all of us are talking now, let's wait and see. I remember when we were telling President Barrow that I have to do 3 years. People were insulting us. Some even called me ignorant and uneducated because I know what the Constitution said. It said 5 years. When I was telling President Barrow in the heydays that you must do your 3 years because that's what you promised the Gambian people, there was no kind of insult was not insulted on us. Telling us that we are not educated. We know the Constitution said 5 years. He must do 5 years. What happened later? Sometimes when people see things, we see the dangers and we try to avert it. At that time, it becomes very unpopular to speak about it. Yes. But later on, we come to see that is why the end justifies the means.
How about, away from that, how about finally, we will talk about just about one issue, and then we wrap up. I have kept you here for long now. The issue of voter registration. We've seen the delay. This was supposed to take place in January. Now we are in March. The IEC, at least they faced some problems in registering Gambian voters. Now, finally, they are saying that it's confirmed. I spoke with the officials, and they said it's confirmed. By May, they will start registering the Gambians. And as a political leader, one of the political leaders, this is going to be a very, very important election. This is going to be the first election post-dictatorship Gambians are going to vote. And my guess, is a lot of Gambians would want to participate. That will be a very impressive voter turnout. In terms of, that is what I am guessing. In terms of the voter registration, how would you like it to go on? Because the IEC wants you to bring certain documents, of course, birth certificate, ID card, passport, alcalo or CFO's document. These are the three.
Four.
Yes, these are the 4 ways you can acquire do you think this is the way to go about it?
You see, I'm worried and I'm concerned that will disenfranchise a lot of Gambians in this registration.
Yes. How?
The 4 documents that they are asking for have been very difficult to get since the last registration and very expensive. A passport costs over $2,500 up to $3,000 to get a passport.
Yes.
And only people who travel to go look for passports.
Yes.
The ID card costs almost $600, I think. If you lose it, you want to renew it, it's $1,000.
Yes.
Birth certificates, how many people still have their birth certificates? The alcalo and the CFO's attestation is left to the whims and caprices of the alcalo and to his discretion to write for you or not. If he thinks that if he thinks that in some instances that you will not vote for his candidate, he might not write you the attestation, because he has to write that I certify that Lamenjai is a
and almost all the alcalos are Baro.
No, I wouldn't agree to that. I wouldn't agree to that. Now, there's a problem now.
I'm just
the window
joking.
is only 6 weeks.
Yes.
And based on evidence, anecdotal evidence, many Gambians don't have these documents as we speak. We're like last minute rush. Why? Because many Gambians are more concerned with their livelihoods. Imagine women who work in the gardens for their livelihoods. They go to the garden at 6 a.m. and leave there at 8 p.m. Why? Because water comes only at certain times. They have to wait and it's erratic.
Yes. Yes.
2, animals intrude to eat their vegetables. So they have to sit and secure. How would you get a woman to leave her garden to go and look for ID card? To pay $600, which she cannot afford. And to also stand in long queue to get that ID card and the back and forth and the interviews. Many young people who are supposed to be new voters don't have the ID card. So we are concerned, we are worried that the system might just disenfranchise people because they'll feel it's not even worth it.
Now, what do you think the IEC should have done to make it easier? Aside these 4 ways, what do you think the IEC should have done?
Well, I think what the IEC could have done, this process could have started a while ago to give people the chance to register. The government should have found a way to make the ID card process easy for Gambians to acquire and cheap to acquire. One, it is cumbersome to get. It is also expensive. So once you make the ID card difficult to get, and the ID card is the way in which you can get a voter's card, you are really disenfranchising many Gambians. So the government should have made the ID card acquisition very easy and cheap for Gambians to get, because it is what can give you a voter's card. Passport, forget about it. Now the attestation, there are loopholes, because chiefs can really register non-Gambians by just writing attestation. And this is the loophole. That is why that one is a bit flawed in terms of doing that. So this could have started. You see, the timing is too short.
Yes.
6 weeks is too short. It's 8 months to elections, and you know we like to leave it till late, till last minute. You wait until it has started. You start running for ID card. Then ID card will be inundated with people, because everybody is rushing for the ID card now.
Yes.
And the queues will discourage you to go and get the ID card. So this is our concern. And I think now what the IEC should have done is to extend the window of registration.
Yes.
And we do a lot of sensitization and make sure that now when it comes to the ID card, how do you call it, production centers, let them expand it. So we have more ID card production centers, make it easy to get an ID card. Because if we make it difficult to get an ID card, we are disenfranchising people. So we need to make sure there are more centers across rural Gambia so that people don't have to travel far to go and get an ID card. And they have to pay cheap to get an ID card. But today, that is the problem. And political parties are under pressure. Because people tell you that, I don't have an ID card. If you want me to vote, make sure you get an ID card. And political don't have the money to afford to give people ID cards. We cannot do it. So it's a problem. And that is my concern.
Do you have a final comment? we'll have to end it there. We are agonizingly running out of time.
Well, to thank you and to thank the viewers. It's a pleasure once again to be here to talk to the Fatu Network.
No, thank you very much. And if Mansour, if you have a photo of the UDP leader, this is a breaking news. More political party leaders have started to react to the Scorpions victory and their subsequent qualification to the Africa Cup of Nations. So the statement, I just got the statement there by the leader of the United Democratic Party, Ousainou Darboe, and this is his statement. Today, the sons of the Gambia have placed our beloved Gambia on the global platform for very positive reasons. Our Scorpions have shown us what it looks like, how it feels, and what it means to be a truly patriotic son and daughter of our motherland. Gambians from all walks of life, both at home and in the diaspora, have come together to celebrate our collective victory and to commend our youth for such a magnificent performance. We are so proud of them. They deserve more than just celebrating their hard work. They deserve more than congratulatory messages. We must acknowledge their hard work, dedication, and commitment with a befitting reward to boost their morale and spirits as they prepare for the Africa Cup of Nations. They did this for all of us, and indeed, for the first time in our history, we shall be going to the Africa Cup of Nations. Despite being the smallest country on mainland Africa, our sons have now qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations. They have demonstrated that coming together, how, if we put our differences aside and come together, we can achieve great things collectively for our nation. The UDP joins the rest of Gambians to heartily congratulate them for such an amazing and victorious performance. Alhaji Mamadou Biri Njai Biri Biri and our ancestors will definitely be pleased with them for blazing such a trail for the Gambia, our homeland. That's the statement there by UDP leader Ousainou Darboe, and that will bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you for being there. Until next week, I'm Lamin Njai.
Okay.